by showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied somehow or other, and controlling the senses from sense enjoyment, one can very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardhan. This can become our mission statement from today on, that we can live by. Everyone has to live by something. If we don't have some idea about where we're going and what the purpose to life is, then we go in any direction, and we're being pulled constantly by the senses and by the mind. And from one life to the next, aimlessly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami, a living entity is as if floating on a river endlessly, like a log, until the log comes to rest on the shore. By good fortune, someone comes to rest on the shore. And this happens by special mercy. The devotees are the agents of the Supreme Lord who distribute Krishna's mercy. When Vidura met with Yudhishthira, Yudhishthira told him that actually you are a walking tirtha. Tirtha actually means a bridge between the material and the spiritual world. He said, because you carry the Supreme Personality of Godhead within your heart, and therefore wherever you go, you purify even the holy places. Everyone goes to the holy places to leave their sins, to become purified themselves. But the pure devotees of the Lord go to the holy tirthas, and they purify even those sins left behind, because they carry the Supreme Personality of Godhead within their heart. This is the occupation of the devotee, the advanced devotee. Srila Prabhupada has said that a Madhyama Adhikari, the middle class devotee, is someone who knows how to do good for others. Not many people know how to do good for others in the world. Not many people care about doing good for others. Those who do want to do good for others in ignorance do things which are only distracting to the actual goal of life. So, included in this verse is the dictum that we must control the senses. Because without controlling the senses, I can't do good even to myself. Prahlad Maharaj has said that there are no enemies in this world except for the uncontrolled mind and senses. And Rupa Goswami has begun his discussion of the most important items in devotional service, in the Upadeshamrita. The essence of his advice is given there about how to advance in devotional service, and he begins with Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jihva Vegam, Udoropasta Vegam, Etan Vegam, Yovishahet Dhira, Sarvamapimam Pritivim Sashishyad. The senses have great influence over me. They're pushing me. And he says that someone who's able to control the senses becomes the spiritual master for everyone. Pritavimna Shishyat. In other words, everyone becomes his shishya. Why? Because who is the master of this world? The senses are the master of the world. Everyone's controlled by the senses. Everyone works for the senses. You want me to prove it? Prove it, Vaisesika. Does anybody here work? Anybody work for a boss? You work for a boss? What's your boss's name? Huh? Chinese. You don't count. Wow, this unusual group. Nobody works? Where I come from, everybody works. All the working people are out working. You work? Did you work for a boss? Anybody else work for a boss? Yes? You work? You work for a boss? What's your boss's name? Okay, we'll call him Steve. So you work for Steve, and when do you have to go back to work? Okay, so in 2 weeks when you go back, and Steve meets you at the door and he says that we're very happy that you've come back for work. Only one thing, for 2011, we're just not going to pay you anymore. Will you continue working? No. So you don't work for Steve. And you don't work for the job, you work for the money. And everyone's working hard for the money, and actually it's not the money, it's because we need the money to maintain the senses. So everyone in the world's working hard to maintain the senses. And the senses are the masters of the world. So when one can control the senses, actually, and become satisfied with the natural gifts that Krishna gives. Not to say that we don't work, we must work. Kamasya nendriya pritir labo jivete yavata jivasya tattva jignasya narto yasceha karma bhi. The Bhagavatam says we must eat to live, but don't live to eat. In other words, we can work for the senses as much as we have to maintain them, so that we can inquire about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And besides controlling the senses and engaging in positive work of giving others mercy, there's very little satisfaction in this world. Everyone's trying to find happiness in the world by adjustment, moving from one situation to the next. A couple lives in a house, and then they become bored with each other, then they begin to fight, and then they get a divorce, and then they sell the house, and then the next couple comes, and they think, this is our dream house. What one couple is leaving behind as a horrible place with bad memories, the next person is taking on as, this is my happy place. And everyone's moving in the world. Hiranyakashipu told this to his relatives after Hiranyaka had been killed, and they were very much aggrieved. He told them that everyone's traveling in the world, and like travelers, they stop in at an inn, have something to drink, and they meet each other, they talk, they become friends, and then they go out different doors and on different paths. So I'm moving from one life to the next, meeting people who I think are my beloved family members. The first thing that happens when we're born, what is the first thing that happens when you're born? You cry, and then what's the next thing that happens? Well, you slap, but you get slapped with a name tag. Someone comes along and says, your name is Schnicky. And they put a little tag on you, and then that's it. You're Schnicky for the rest of your life. Whether you like it or not, it's on your passport. And before that, 10 seconds before that, you were a jiva, just coming out into the world. And now I'm Schnicky. And I identify with my body, my mind. Everyone becomes enamored. They project themselves. Shukadeva Goswami speaks about this in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, in the story of Krishna manifesting himself, replicating the calves and the boys after Brahma had stolen them. And then the residents of Vrindavan became more affectionate to the children that were actually the expansions of Krishna. And the cows became more affectionate to the calves that were expansions of Krishna. And the reason was that the living entity actually is attracted to Krishna. And the only reason that I'm attracted to the body is because I'm in it and Krishna's in it. And as soon as I leave the body, then it's useless to me. I throw it away. But while I'm in the body, I project myself into things, into matter. For instance, there's my car and there's other people's cars. Anybody here come here in a car today? Seriously, folks. You came here in a car. So you know where it's parked? It's outside. So what if we heard a smashing sound and it sounded like just the area where your car was parked? It would be a problem for you. You hear the sound and you run to the window and you think, my car is smashed. And maybe you perspire and maybe you have some thoughts about the trouble that you were in and because you didn't renew your insurance. And then when you looked out, you saw that it was, who else brought a car? It was your car. Sorry, I'm giving you a hard time today. But then your anxiety is immediately gone because it wasn't your car. But a car is a car. It's made of metal and glass and such. But I project myself into a certain car, into a certain family, a certain nation, and therefore it's a problem for me. I become identified with it. People become identified with a football team. I lived in I lived in San Francisco. I still do. For a long time, the football team there was world champions, and the whole town would become excited when they would win and morose when they would lose. And when they'd win, people would say, "We won!" And I was thinking, you didn't win anything. You didn't play. You just watched from the television. But because the person identified and thought, this is me, I place myself into the team, into the car, into the house, into the family, and then my I becomes my my. And in this way, I work in this world identifying with matter. And that's a problem for the soul, because actually I have nothing to do with this material world. Aparayamitasthonyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. Krishna says that beyond earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego is the superior energy of the soul. So self-realization means to control the senses through superior knowledge. Kshetrajnam chapimam vidhi sarve kshetrishu varata. Kshetra jnanam yatach jnanamatam mama. Krishna says, this is knowledge, to understand the difference between the field and the owner of the field, and then to know the superknower, Krishna within everybody. And so the devotee becomes awakened by understanding the goal of life and hearing this sambandha gyan, transcendental knowledge. And then this is called labdha buddhi, or gaining one's intelligence. And in the Padyavali there's a famous verse, Prabhupada quoted quite frequently, that the devotee laments, having spent so much time in serving the bad masters of the senses. Kamadinam katina katida palita durnideshas tesham jatamayina karuna natrapano pashanti utsrijaitanata yarupate samprata labdha buddhis tamayata sharanam abhayam mamniyunkshvatmadasye. The devotee says, for how long and in how many ways have I served the bad masters of the senses? They've never given me mercy, and they've never given me time off. And I've simply obeyed them without any question. Whatever they say, I just do it. But now I've gained my intelligence, and I refuse to serve the bad masters of the senses. My intelligence is awakened. And now I'm taking shelter of Krishna. And my prayer is, I'm approaching you, Krishna, I'm asking you for your shelter. And this is the only satisfaction in life. There is no other satisfaction except for surrender to Krishna. All other ideas of satisfaction, including the idea of merging into the Brahman, effulgence of the Lord, or becoming liberated from the world, is a temporary situation. Yenevra vindaksha vimuktamaninas tvayasta bhavad avashuddha budhaya aruya krishena paramparam tata patantyata nadrya yushmadangraya patantyata yushmadan angraya. the demigods prayed to Krishna in the womb, and they said, unless one comes to realize you, Krishna, the lotus-eyed one, and surrender to you, then all other kinds of adjustment in the world, whatever kind of perfection one thinks one's achieved, is contaminated. And therefore one will fall down from that situation. Aruya Krishna, and it's hard work. The material world's hard work to find some satisfaction or some place, some satisfactory place. One of the austerities that Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita is satisfaction. Satisfaction. Why is it an austerity? It's very difficult to be satisfied in this world. What I get in 1 second, 2 seconds later, I'm dissatisfied with the same thing. This is the vacillation of the mind. So in this verse, Narada Muni is giving instruction to the Prachetas, telling them that there are several things that please the Lord very quickly. One of the things is giving mercy to other living beings. And I began by speaking about sense control, because unless I'm giving mercy to myself, I can't give mercy to other living beings. Giving mercy to other living beings includes, giving mercy to all living beings includes oneself. And charity begins at home. One must control the senses, and one must give oneself mercy. It's actually a torture for the soul to go on and on in sense gratification and to not surrender to Krishna. To delay the surrender to Krishna it's torture. But we call sweet surrender, because the minute I decide that I'm going to surrender to Krishna, then I feel satisfied. Narayana parak sarve na kutaschana bhipiti swarga pavarga narakeshu apitulyana darshana. This verse Prabhupada brings from 6th canto, that because the devotees surrender to Krishna, it doesn't matter where he or she is in the world or what situation, because my only intention is go on serving Krishna no matter what comes, no matter what the situation. Whereas when I'm in it for myself, when I have some idea that I'm going to make some adjustment for myself in this world, then no matter where I move, no matter what adjustment I make, I'll feel dissatisfied. But if I take whatever service Krishna gives me and I embrace that, then I'll feel satisfied wherever I am, in heaven or in hell. So to practice satisfaction is something that pleases Krishna. And this is, it's actually a practice to develop a feeling of satisfaction in one's service. So, Krishna consciousness means to engage all of the senses in Krishna's service and to surrender to Krishna. And the Sankirtan movement, the Samyak Kirtan, or the complete glorification of the Lord in all times and all places, allows one to see Krishna everywhere and see the opportunity to please Krishna everywhere by the principle of fanning the spark. Queen Kunti says, Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadhava. She mentions the purpose that Krishna has come to the world. She says, ultimately Krishna has come here to teach the process of hearing, chanting. And she mentions the word Grinanti. Grinanti means to appreciate. It's a kind of a gratitude. And so, there's an old saying that whatever you appreciate, appreciates. If I'm envious and I see somebody who has good qualities or has some talent, then it blocks my ability to absorb those qualities or talent. Whereas if I appreciate others, if I see in others some good quality, some advancement in Krishna consciousness, And with an open heart, I appreciate their surrender, their advancement. Then I also get those qualities. I also advance. I get what they have through appreciation. You can appreciate your way back to Godhead. You can just sit there and appreciate the devotees. How wonderful the devotees are. This is why throughout the Bhagavatam we find these prayers of appreciation and glorification. Glorifying Krishna and the devotees. Open-heartedly glorifying. And by that, the heart opens and those qualities pour into the heart. Shinvanti Gayanti Grananti Sadhava. And the life of Sankirtan, of giving mercy to others, is based on this principle. It means that one must have decided to surrender to Krishna. And by that surrender, the enjoying spirit within the heart dries up. It dries up. The enjoying spirit is actually the enemy of the soul. It implicates me, and it's an embarrassment, actually. If you've ever seen people intoxicated, they think they're happy. But actually, when you see how they're acting, it's an embarrassment. Like drinking alcohol, it makes you stupid. Oprah Winfrey proved it. She did an experiment once where she invited people who don't drink to come in. It was a clinical study. They were given a certain quantity of alcohol to drink, and then they were filmed afterwards in a room to watch how they acted, and then they watched themselves afterwards. And they said things that they never would have said before, stupid things. And they did stupid things. And they were embarrassed. They were upstanding, educated people. And they watched themselves act like asses. And they were embarrassed. But all kinds of my commitment to sense gratification in the world is just like that. It gets in the veins of the living being, and it intoxicates me, and it's an embarrassment. Any subtle contamination of because I still have a vested interest in this world. There's something in it for me, I want for myself. Therefore, it's intoxication. It's in my veins, and I cannot act properly. Janmaishvaya Shuta Shribhir Edamana Madapuman Naivar Hat Yadi Datum Vai Twama Kinchana Gochara. Therefore, Queen Kunti gives the formula for becoming dear to Krishna, for attracting Krishna. It doesn't require anything, she said. It doesn't require wealth or beauty or education. You don't have to know Sanskrit. You can be illiterate. You can be an animal. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what background you come from. In fact, all these things are disqualifications. If I think I have something, Queen Kunti says, Janma, Aishvarya, Shruta, Shribhir, naming all kinds of opulences that my mind grabs onto and thinks, I'm this, I'm something. She says, Twama Kinchana Gochara. The only person who's attractive to Krishna is the Akinchan. Kinchan means something. Akinchan means I don't have something. I don't have anything. This is the feeling of a devotee. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling with his devotees after he took sannyas, he came to a toll taker. There are toll takers who say you pay the money before you go across this area. And he didn't have any money, and neither did all his followers, because he checked with them. Before they left, he said, did you bring anything? And they said, no. He said, good, we only depend on Krishna. So they came to the toll taker, and the toll taker asked for toll, and then he said, actually he saw he was sannyasi, so he said, you can go through. And he said, are these people with you? And Mahaprabhu said, I have nobody in this world. I'm all alone. He was in ecstasy. I have nobody in this world. I'm all alone. And he walked on. And the toll taker said, well, he can go, but you all have to stay. And Mahaprabhu sat down some distance away on a stone, and he began to cry. And tears were pouring from his eyes so profusely. The toll taker said, "Who is he? An ordinary human being cannot cry such tears." And they said, "He's our Lord. We're following him wherever he goes." And then they began to cry. And then the toll taker began to cry. The Vrindavan Das Thakur says that anyone who hears the pure devotees crying out of separation for the Lord will become purified. But when the Lord said, "I have nobody, I have nothing in this world," this is the feeling of the devotee, akinchana gochara. I don't have anything. I don't have a leg to stand on. This is the only way to chant. We say it in the morning, Trinada Pisuni Chena. But what does it mean? It means I don't have a leg to stand on. I can't breathe without the assistance of the Lord. I can't think. I can't move my arms. And I don't have anything. Akinchana gochara. Nothing. I have nothing. Only my dependence on Krishna. There's satisfaction. There's only satisfaction in this. Otherwise, whatever I hold on to, this is called the offense against the holy name, maintaining material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on the matter. What does it mean? Well, I had my own personal realization. Shall I tell what it is? All right. I was driving my car one day, and some anartha came into my mind. It passed by. Pardon me? My car? I'm using it in Krishna service. And it was just a fleeting thought, anartha. I didn't know where it came from. It just floated by. And then I thought, I know how to vanquish that anartha. I just have to bring it out and offer it to Krishna and say, "Here, Krishna, I saw an anartha. I know it's in there." It's like if you're in your house and a snake comes in the door and you close the door and you say, "Okay, just go take rest now." Well, he's in there somewhere. You won't rest very well, right? Snake's in the house. Could be behind the couch. Come on, kids. It's like that. The anarthas are lurking somewhere. So I saw it. And I thought, I have to bring it out. If I bring it out, Krishna will vanquish it. All I have to do is ask him. Then a little devil. I saw in cartoons when I was a kid, there's a little angel on one side and a devil on the other. And the little devil said, "Don't bring it out. If you bring it out, it'll be gone." And I thought, you little rat. You little rat. What is it that I won't bring it out? What is it? That's it. That's the essence of it. If I bring it out and I say, "Krishna, please take it away," he'll do it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that just as Krishna kills the demons, he kills the anarthas. And all we have to do is open our heart. Say, "I have this anartha. Hare Krishna. Krishna, I'm weak. I have nothing. You're supplying my breath, my intelligence, my ability to move, my association, the food, everything. And now this rotten anartha is there within my heart. Will you please take it away? I only want to surrender to you." And he'll take it. This is the life of devotional service. This is satisfaction. Only working to remove these anarthas is satisfaction. And one who has this life of removing anarthas, this is the life of Krishna consciousness. This sadhana bhakti means this practice. The practice is actually opening my heart for Krishna. Please clean my heart so that I can serve you, so I can serve your devotees. Someone who's living that life can distribute mercy. Someone whose heart is fixed on removing the anarthas, even if they're not gone, but whose intention is to remove them. Wherever they are, I'll track them down, I'll open my heart, I'll allow Krishna in. That person feels blissful. The heavy weight of material life is lifted from that person's head. Tadarajas tamo bhava kama lobhadayaschaye cheta iter anavidam stitam sattve prasidati. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata. Bhagavad tattva vijnana mukta sangha sajayate. The Bhagavatam describes it's a process. Tadarajas tamo bhava. By taking the process, gradually the modes of passion and ignorance, they dissipate. And then, evam prasanna manaso, the mind becomes happy. That's the natural state of the soul, to be happy, to be joyful. Mode of passion. What is Rajogun? Rajogun means, I have to become somebody. Whatever I am now, it's not good enough. The world's in Rajogun. It's in Rajogun. You got an iPhone? Do you have an iPhone? It's not good enough. You got a computer? It's not good enough. You got to get the next one. Is it a G3 or G4? Huh? 3G? You don't have 4G. But if you buy the 4G now, the 5G's coming out in a few months, and then you're going to be a sucker because you just bought the other one. And there's no end to it. It goes on because it's got to be better. There's always something else. And this is the whirlpool of the material world, that I'm not something else. I have to become something else. Sattva gun. Bhagavatam says you must come to this level in order to actually appreciate that you're a soul. Parthivad dharano dumas tasmaragnis trayimayaha. Tamasastura tasmat sattvam yad brahmadarshanam. It's a cultivation, moving out of the lower modes of material nature. Sattvagum means sattvam yad brahmadarshanam. I can see that I'm Brahman. And what does that mean? Sattvagun means I am something. I exist. That's good enough. There's some satisfaction there. But it's not enough. One has to be active in the service of Krishna. And that means devotional service. The process of chanting Hare Krishna with an open heart. And then distributing Krishna consciousness to others. Fanning the spark. Appreciating the qualities. And it doesn't just mean that I appreciate the qualities in someone who's a devotee. And that is officially dressed like a Vaishnav. But preachers must be able to see that spark everywhere. See the spark within everyone. Realize that actually that Krishna is within everyone's heart. And see that good quality, that soul is there. The soul is amazing, actually. This is the joy of life. Ascharyavat pashyati kashyadenam. Krishna says, see the soul is amazing. Some see the soul as amazing. Isn't the soul amazing? When we go on Sankirtan, one of the things I say, when I show people a book, still here? When I show people a book, I say, books on yoga and meditation shows you how to get free from stress. You've heard of stress before, right? And what do they say? And then I say, yeah, but you don't look stressed. It's your eyes. Your eyes look spiritual. It's for me that brings me right into the moment, because I'm looking in their eyes and I say, yeah, but your eyes. It's your eyes. Your eyes look spiritual. Now look at somebody's eyes right now. Isn't it a miracle? There's somebody looking back at you. I mean, the eye's just a lens, right? But there's actually a soul back there. What is that? You can look at a cat. Go see a cat. He'll look back at you too. There's a soul in there looking back at you. Monkeys too. They look at you. Of course, they're up to no good. But they're in there. They're looking at you. They know. Crows know. They recognize you. The crows can recognize a face for up to 2 years. They look down and they see what's going on. The soul's amazing. every animal. The Native Americans say, walk in this world with care because every animal in the world has more intelligence than you. Look at a spider. Spider didn't go to the university and knows how to build a web, engineer a web. I can't do it. I could barely make my bed in the morning. It's like, it still doesn't look right. But the spider's like, how did you do that? That's the soul. The soul's in there. And this is Sankirtan. The soul, it means to see everywhere, every person to appreciate the soul, to appreciate that Krishna's there with the soul. And simultaneously, if I'm appreciating my own soul, if I'm appreciating my own, the miracle of how Krishna is so kind to me at every second, then I'll feel happiness and I'll want to fan the spark. So, what is the occupation of a devotee? Devotee is Ishvare Taradineshu Balisheshu Dusatsacha. The devotee sees four kinds of people. The Supreme Lord, the devotees, sees the innocent, the Balisheshu. And for the innocent person there's an opening, there's a spark to fan. He or she pours in as much mercy as possible. That's a good life. That's a happy life. To look everywhere for an opportunity. And within every situation, good or bad, to see the positive opportunity. This is actual wisdom. Tatenu kampam susamikshimanu bunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Brahma says this is how a devotee lives. From minute to minute. Whatever happens, they're seeing Krishna's mercy. So, gratitude, appreciation, cultivating the human spirit, becoming an ambassador of goodwill to the world by giving people the only valuable thing, which is Krishna's mercy. And being an example of that, it's the only way to attract people. One person who surrenders can change the whole world. Prabhupada said something about we want one moon, not many stars. What is the moon? Moon-like person. A moon person is a person who decides to surrender to Krishna, become a servant of others. So the Sankirtan movement means to cultivate this amazement. Einstein said it. He said there's two ways of looking at the world. One way is that everything can be explained mathematically. Another way is that everything's a miracle. He said, I choose the latter. We choose the latter. Brahma chose the latter. He looked at everything. He was smarter than Einstein by far. And he said, others may say, I know Krishna, but I don't know anything about Krishna. So, surrender and the cultivation of gratitude and fanning the spark, this is Sankirtan. And we're so lucky. We're dropped in this situation right now where we have as much service as we like. Whatever service you want, you have it. You can do as much as you like. Or you can complain. Lots of people complain about, look over here, look how everyone's doing it wrong. Takes attention off oneself. Look, see, they're doing it wrong. Look, that guy fell down. So what about you? What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to surrender? Or are you going to look at other people? One person surrenders. That changes the world. And they can change others. Hare Krishna. Any question? We'll take a reflections or questions. Yes. Do we have a microphone? You say and I'll repeat while they're finding the microphone.
Thank you very much for a wonderful class.
Hare Krishna. He said, thank you for a wonderful class.
So you were talking about the Tatenukampam verse by Lord Brahma. And
So he's mentioning that we talked about the Tatenukampam verse by Lord Brahma.
And you were saying how one who sees in this way, they're seeing that everything is Krishna's mercy.
So they're seeing that someone who sees in this way is seeing that everything's Krishna's mercy.
So I thought about this many, many times. And I wondered, say for instance, so I've thought about this many, many times, and I thought, I'm trying to apply it, and I thought how to understand, this isn't like, a humorous question, it's serious, how to understand, say for instance, practical example is, if you oversleep, and then you wake up late, and you're frustrated, you're really you're really annoyed that you overslept, and then, how, obviously that's not Krishna's mercy. So, do you understand what I'm saying? How to see that verse in that?
I do. This is the life of a sadhaka. You have a relationship with Krishna, and when these things happen, and you feel, for instance, you feel remorse that I didn't hit the mark. Krishna knows that. He's Bhavagrahi Janardana. He knows your heart. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna. Krishna says, I know everything. I'm everywhere. I know everything. It's a good thing for the sincere person. That's good news. Krishna knows my heart. Because externally I may make so many mistakes. I will make so many mistakes. But if he knows actually what's in my heart, I can take shelter of that. That's my relationship with Krishna. I overslept. Krishna, I didn't want to oversleep. I want to serve you. Please, I want to come to the mark. The devotee, going from one point to the next, is not a straight line. There's many twists and turns. And, how to move up in Krishna consciousness, how to come to the next stage. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about this in the Chaitanya Shikshamrita. He says that when we, just as there's niyamagraha, which means either not following the rules and regulations or following them just for the sake of following without understanding their purpose, there's another kind of niyamagraha, and that is that if I can advance and I don't take the step to advance, if I can do more service, if there's something more I can do and I don't take it, niyamagraha. If I take more than I can handle, also niyamagraha. There's a middle point. So that balancing is the life of this sadhana. And Prabhupada says in the light of the Bhagavat, that even missteps in Krishna consciousness may not be detrimental. They may become the pillars to success. Shri Prambhavati Dharmatma Shashvas Chantim Nagachati Kontiya Pratijanihi Nami Bhaktya Pranashiti. My devotees never vanquished. In that purport in the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada talks about how is it that one can have a fall down either by intention or by accident and still be a pure devotee? Well, you go on with the process because he's there within the heart. And he knows our intention. So that's Krishna's mercy. We're individual and we have freedom. He's given us that freedom. And when you think, when you're able to think that I made a mistake, I want to improve, you're properly using your independence. Even as you're making the misstep, there's solace because you're intending to fix it. And Krishna knows your heart and he reciprocates. Supadam mulam bhajata priyasya tyaktanya bhavasya hari pareshaha. Vikarma yachchot patitam katanchit dhunoti sarvam hridi sanivishtaha. Karabhajana Muni says that because Krishna is within the heart of the devotee, he knows when there's some misstep. And he knows the heart of the devotee and he rectifies it. Krishna rectifies it. Anything? Is that okay? Okay. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Got so much from this class. in the beginning of the class you said that it's actually mind and senses. Sure.
Okay, you say, and I'll repeat.
Sure. In the beginning of the class, you said that mind and senses is actually the driving force of all of us serving the boss.
In the beginning of class, I was saying that the mind and senses are the driving force of the world.
And I remember the last one devotee in our country, and he was saying that it's actually the stomach and not the senses as such, because the real hunger and the necessity to survive is what makes us very alive.
So he's saying in his country, a devotee gave a class and said it's actually the stomach that is the center of all the senses that is forcing us to move in a certain way.
Yeah, and that it's actually Krishna as the Agni, as the representative.
And that it's actually Krishna who's is Agni in the stomach, who's a representative of Krishna. To some extent, then we're still serving Krishna because we're serving Maya. Serving the stomach. Yeah, that's true. By some extent, those are Uttamadhikaris, they see everyone's engaged in Krishna's service. So it's serving Maya. Maya is a representative of Krishna. So it's okay. No problem. It's one angle of vision. But actually, there's this Siddhanta and the Shastra direct us in a certain way to control the senses. And Indriyani prayanyahur indrebhya param manaha manasastu para buddhir yo buddhe paratasusa evam buddhi param buddhva samstabhyatmanamātmana jahi shatra mahabaho kamarupa darashadam. Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, recognize the hierarchy. The senses are in the lowest position. Above the senses is the mind. Above the mind is the intelligence. And he said, use your intelligence to conquer over those. So, we can say, even living entities who are engaged in annamoy or just eating, they're also relating to Krishna in a certain way. Because everything's Krishna. But there's also in personalism and in the elevation to our personal relationship with Krishna, there is a directed path which is given in the Shastra. And it's not the status quo. It's simply let it go on because, I'm serving Krishna, therefore it doesn't matter. You were going to say, Bhagavata Shraya?
Just a reflection on that point of Krishna explains that we actually have six senses, the six senses which include the mind. And really, what I hear you're talking about is, what is your state of mind? And if your mind is still being whipped with the illusion of hunger, then you get around to this idea that the belly is.
Now, this is a good point because actually, he actually says that there, in the 15th chapter, Shotam Shakshu Sparshanam Cha Rasanam Granam Eva Cha Adishtayam Manaschayam Vishayanupasevate, that all the senses are grouped about the mind. So, the belly being the center, there's some idea of that they're, the senses are serving the belly. That's more of a metaphorical idea. But in Shastra, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the mind is the center. He also, says that the first objective is to control the mind. If one's mind's controlled, then the idea of, hunger and thirst and all those things becomes superfluous. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyete tatvivit pashan shrinvan sprishan jigran ashan gatshan supanshvasan pralapan vishrunan grinnan unmishan nimishan api indriyan indriyarteshu vartanta iti dharayan. The person whose mind is controlled, Krishna says, they're not disturbed by the stomach. or by any of the movings of the senses, and eating, sleeping, moving about, accepting, breathing, and such like that. I don't know if I gave a class on book distribution today, but yeah, it was all right? Okay. We're coming to the end, though. Again, it's 9:00. It's time for Prasadam.
I'll try and speak loudly so that everyone can hear.
But can they hear on the internet? Isn't it being broadcast? I'll repeat what you say.
All right. So you were saying that we have to practice satisfaction, and that pleases Krishna. And that it is a practice, it's something we have to practice. And you're also saying that the whole world is in this Rajagun, I want to be a better person, or I want to improve, I want to be something more. So could you say something a little bit about practicing satisfaction in your service? And also, the second part of the question is, can we engage that propensity to want to be something better by wanting to be a better devotee?
We practice, Krishna gives the directive, yadrishya labasantushto. Yadrishya means things that come of their own accord. So it can apply both in the material sense. This verse gives satisfaction because this is the practice. Things come of their own accord, don't they? And, have you ever been given something? Someone gave me a ring once, and then I lost it. I was in anxiety. They just gave it to me, and I lost it just a couple of days later. I was traveling in Japan. It was in Harinam. My hand swelled up because I was playing the drum for so long, so I moved the ring to my other hand. I got in the car. It was somewhere in Tokyo. It probably still is. But what could I do except for understand something came, something went. And yadrishya labasantusho, Krishna says, be satisfied with things which come of their own accord. And also in devotional service, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, don't try to be a great devotee, just try to be a good devotee. This, to me, parallels this idea. Just be a good devotee. Don't be great, just be good. And whatever mercy Krishna wants to bestow will come down to you. It'll come down to you if you're just good. There's a story about in the Chaitanya Bhagavat about at Srivasangam when everyone was bathing the Lord and so many devotees were coming and the Lord was giving benedictions. And the devotees were packed in to see the bathing ceremony. And there was somebody bringing little pots of Ganges water and lining them up for the devotees so that they didn't have to go out and get the water themselves. And amidst the whole assembly, Mahaprabhu noticed that somebody was doing this service, and he stopped everything and he said, who's bringing this water? Who's doing the service? And Srivas Thakur noticed that it was his servant from the house, whose name was Dukhi, unhappy. And Mahaprabhu said, now from today forward her name will be Sukhi, happy. And what's meaningful about that is that she's a good devotee. She wasn't a great devotee, wasn't trying to be a great devotee, but Mahaprabhu noticed her service from afar. So whatever service we have, whatever corner of the universe we're in, it doesn't matter. Vedaham samititani. Krishna knows everything. He knows our heart. And if I do my service with this idea to please Krishna, and it's sincere, that's all he wants, sincere service, then he'll notice. And he's the one who promotes us. He promotes us. He brings us to the next higher level. So, learn to be satisfied with things that have come of their own accord. Actually, we have so much already. If you just think about that, you have a human body. It's the most amazing thing. The voice recognition. I got a voice recognition machine or software for my computer, so I could read into it, and then it would type out on the screen. Yeah, it was brand new for the Mac, so I got it, and I started. So you have to teach the machine how to recognize your voice. And in the tutorial, as I was speaking to the machine, it was explaining to me what voice recognition is and how they develop it. And they said that actually the human brain is is millions of times greater than this software program. Because when voice recognition, when you speak into a computer and it recognizes your voice, if there's any other sound in the room, it can't distinguish between the two. Whereas we can be talking in a crowded room and there's all kinds of voices coming in and we can filter out just that. And also, a human being at around 3 years old can start assimilating all kinds of different languages and putting them all together in different ways. I just had a greater appreciation for the gift of the human body. If you start there and you think, what a gift I've been given. And not only that, it's the greatest thing because it's, you can understand God. That, you could be satisfied with that. Do you need anything else? I don't need anything else. I'm happy. Whatever else you want to give me, fine. But, I'm good. Satisfied, No thanks. Whatever. We have to, it's gratitude, really. Gratitude for what we already have. Otherwise you get more things you pile it on. And one of the biggest industries in the world nowadays is storage. You get a house, which means a place to keep all your stuff, and then you got to lock it and worry about it. It's like, is somebody going to take that? And then when you get overflow, then you got to put it in another storage bin. And when you die, it's such a hassle because then you have to pass it on, and your relatives have to go through all that stuff. I know. Both my parents passed away, and they were really careful about cleaning up all their stuff before they left, and there was still tons of stuff. And the money is a hassle too. If you get an inheritance, you got to worry about it. You think, oh, money, it's fine. Or even if somebody gives you a big donation, then you got to worry about it. It's like if it's over $10,000, you have to report it to the IRS because they're looking now to see how money's moving in the world because of terrorism. So if somebody gives you a $10,000 donation, you're thinking, now they're going to come after me. And if you get a big inheritance, where am I going to invest it? Do you have to pay inheritance tax? Half of it's gone already. Anxiety, right? But if you're just simple and you just I have what I have, simple life, then you're happy. You don't need anything else. This is the life of devotional service. We got the best life. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Go Premanande Haribo.